was getting paid like $5 to sell a teddy bear. I call this my $1 million decision, where I decided I've got to do one or two things, either quit property or work it out. I converted my portfolio and retired at 37 with passive income of $180,000 a year. One of our programs, I charge $100,000 for 1 year with me. So, you can see from $1,000 to $100,000. What a change.
This is the Content Capitalists Podcast. We talk to business owners who've used video to grow their businesses to $1 million a year or more. How they did it, what worked, what didn't. Welcome to the Content Capitalists with your host, Ken Okazaki.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Content Capitalist. Today I've got with me a friend. His name is George Markoski, and we met online. And if I'm honest, I don't think that we've ever actually met in person yet, but nowadays online is just as good. Now, here's the thing. He's been in property and he has been crushing it on social media with his videos. I'm not going to give away too much yet. We're going to explore that in just a second. George, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ken. Thank you so much. And yes, we met during COVID. And that's part of the reason we haven't met in person. But as I understand it, you're in Japan, and it's one of my to-do lists of one of my favorite places to go. So I can't wait. I've never been there. I'd love to go there. So hopefully we'll meet in person very soon.
I think for sure it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. George, to get us started, could you give us like an overview for the audience members who don't know who you are? And I think a lot of people who are listening will know already because you've been in multiple publications, you've been on social media a lot. But what is it? What's your main business? What do you do?
Yeah, so I run a business company called Positive Property. And our business is actually, what we do is we coach and we're property educators and coaches. So what we do is get people and help teach them how to invest in property, and then actually coach them and step them through step by step to make sure they're successful.
Got it. And is there a certain type of property investment you focus on? Is it like commercial or land or residential multiplexes, anything like that?
Good question. Yes, I'm very big into high growth, passive cash flow assets. So the properties we invest in are ones that are going to grow really high, but also ones that aren't going to cost you a lot to hold. And I find that's a really good balance. So to do that, it's very select residential property that does that.
Okay, and is this all in Australia, or do you do this globally?
Yeah, it's only in Australia. I'm an expert in Australia, but in Australia, there's about 16,000 markets. Out of those 16,000 markets, I've got a spreadsheet where I rank them from number one down to zero when it comes to demand supply. And then we go in the top 200. And when you go top 200, it doesn't matter what the market's doing, you're still making money.
Got it. That sounds super interesting. Now, I want to take us back to before you got started, having had a lot of success in real estate. Could you take us back to, is this the first thing you did out of school, or was there something else in between?
Quite a bit of a journey. I sort of left school in year 12. I got a part-time job selling teddy bears, ended up while I was waiting to get into university, ended up getting a job.
Oh, wait, like teddy bears, like door to doors, knocking on doors, or is this like
door to door teddy bear? And I sold a teddy bear to this art dealer, and he chased me down the road, and I thought he wanted his money back. So I was like, sorry, mate, you've paid me the money. He goes, no, I want to hire you. And I said, I'm waiting to go to uni. I'm not really interested. And then he's like, imagine earning $1,000 to $2,000 a week. And I said, okay, I'm listening. So I ended up becoming an art dealer. He could see that my sales skills were good. And, at the ripe old age of 18, I ended up moving to Sydney, selling artwork, which was so much fun.
And how much were these teddy bears going for? Like, what does it have to be? Like, I'm imagining like a huge amount of work to sell a lot. So what were you making?
It was like $25, and I was getting paid like $5 to sell a teddy bear.
Wow, that's called grunt work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But you know what? The fact of it is, though, it is grunt work, but when you first start out, that's what you have to do. You have to do the grunt work to get good. You know what I mean? And with teddy bears, I saw a lot of people and honed my skills because I was talking to 120 people a day.
Do you remember what your sales ratio was like for doors knocked to sales?
Yeah, it was about 10%.
Oh, okay. So, that sounds like you're counting down like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. You'll get a sale, like statistically 1 out of 10.
Exactly. I'd actually walk in with the little teddy bear, and I'd say catch and throw it to them. They'd be holding it, and I'd go, this is poor Boris, and he hasn't got a home. And they'd go, oh. So my clientele was, female mainly, because they love little teddy bears, especially once they hold them, they don't want to give it back to you. So great.
Okay, got it. And if it's like a big burly man with a beard and a beer in a hand, and then would you like what kind of tack would you take there?
All right. Well, funny enough, I just used the same tack over and over, and some people went for it, other people didn't, and it worked. So, so really, I didn't know what I was doing. It was a numbers game. But once I got involved in artwork, then I realized that it's actually a skill where you get to know someone and you build that deep connection, and that's where the power is.
Okay, and what kind of art was this guy dealing?
All right, so we were doing Pro Heart, who's quite famous here in Australia, and other artists, and we were doing artwork door to door in Sydney, and I was kicking ass. I was like doing really well, and I was 18 and a half. I was making 2 or 3 grand a week. It was great, happy time. It worked really well. It was fantastic.
So you just load up your car with a bunch of artwork and go door to door and sell it to people, right? Right at the doorstep?
Absolutely. And I'd go to an office, and then before you know it, you're selling 20 paintings in 1 hour to the whole office. So, the numbers game, the 1 to many.
And I'd imagine that painting would go for like more than a teddy bear, which was just $25, right?
There was a lot more money in painting. So it was good money. So it was a win-win for everyone because it was original artwork. So it was really good.
Okay, that's cool. So how did you make the leap from selling teddy bears to paintings to real estate? There was a few more steps in between, right?
I'll give you, when I first discovered real estate was when I was like 7 years old, and I played Monopoly at a friend's house. And I thought, wow, this is so exciting. And when I heard you could do it in real life, I got really excited that you could play a game in real life. You know what I mean? Like Monopoly. So I was into property from a young age because of Monopoly, funny enough. And what happened was, because I came from a family that struggled to make ends meet, I knew from an early age, if I was to succeed, it was up to me. I wasn't going to inherit a fortune or get any help from my parents. Because a lot of people go, wow, your parents must be really good at investors or really good at business because you're so successful. But no, actually the opposite. But that's what drove me. It really gave me a massive passion to really just do whatever it takes to succeed. And after reading Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that really motivated me. Little did I know I was going to meet him and actually do a joint training with him. Robert Kiyosaki and I joined forces now, and we're doing a bit of training and things like that about property investing, which is exciting.
Yeah, that guy is OG. He inspired so many millions of people to actually dip their toe in and, get their mind straight around money. I love that. I remember first reading that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He's an amazing guy, and he's a great guy to work with. He's got a lot of integrity.
Robert Kiyosaki, he's an amazing guy and also great to work with. He's got a lot of integrity. You hear all these rumors about him, but when you meet him in real life, he's actually a really deep person. It's not just about money, it's about purpose, and he's a great guy.
Absolutely. In a previous life or my previous business, I used to run large-scale events here in Japan, and I've hired him multiple times, and probably similar to you, done trainings here and enjoyed every single one of the interactions I've had with him. And he's taller than I expected. I thought because his last name is Kiyosaki and he's Japanese, a descendant, he's going to be short like us Japanese, but he's not. He's like, I think he's over 6 feet. And that's a part of that. I was like, I think
he's around,
yeah, maybe a little bit taller. He's just kind of big bodied, so he seems bigger, but definitely super privileged that I got to work with him. And I'm glad to know he's still kicking it and still going out and doing his stuff, helping people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you got inspired and you're playing Monopoly as a kid, and this light went off in your brain, like I could do this in real life. And you've read that book and by Robert Kiyosaki, and I believe it was mid-90s that came out. Was it 95 or so?
Yep.
Yeah. So by that time, how old are you? You must be in your mid-20s.
Yeah, I was in my mid-20s. And then I thought, I've got to invest in property. So I decided I'm going to do it. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of education out there, but you just had to go out there and do it. And I invested in my first property. It worked really well. It was fantastic. And I was hooked. What happened was, though, I started investing in property, but I didn't know how to structure deals. I didn't know what to buy. So before you knew it, I had like 5 properties and I was working 7 days a week to try to pay them off. It was really struggling. And I was like, wow, this is not what I signed up for. I signed up for property to make money, not work extra long and to pay for it.
Yeah, so we're like, how did you pick them? How did you walk through, like, did you go through an agency and they helped you find something, or did you just go door knocking?
Yeah, a bit like that. It was sort of more of a random process. So I didn't know didn't know the structure of how to find a good deal, how to structure it, and everything else. So I had everything wrong, but I just jumped in and did it anyway. But then I thought to myself, I can't work 7 days a week. So it was sort of like I call this my $1 million decision, where I decided, I've got to do one or two things: either quit property and find something else, or work it out. And you can choose. You realize what door I chose to work it out, because with me, I knew there wasn't the other option. But also, when you quit, you're guaranteed to lose, aren't you? So that's right. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do it and work it out. So first thing I did is decided, one, to really work it out. Two, I decided to ignore everyone else out there giving property advice, because a lot of them were just spammy and they didn't have the runs on the board. And I found mentors that had real life results. And when that happened, everything changed. Within a few short years, I converted my portfolio and retired at 37 with passive income of $180,000 a year.
Wow, that's it. 37 years old. You've got is it mostly like rents that you're collecting at the time?
Yeah, $180,000 worth of rents, 10 properties, consistently going up, and it was pretty cool. I really thought my goal was to retire and just have passive income. But little did I know, there's more to life than just making money.
So this is where we're getting into like the second act, right? So tell me about that. You felt satisfied. How long did that last before you're like, that itch came up and you're like, no, I got to do more? How long did that last?
Yes, I got myself a house on the beach, convertible Porsche, and partied and had a lot of fun. I was thinking, great, I'm living the life. I'm awesome. But what happened was I was getting up later each day, and just there was something missing. There was a hole in my life that was missing. I didn't know what it was. And no matter how many places I traveled to and how much fun I had, it wasn't filling. So I thought the problem was I wasn't spending enough money and having enough fun. Then I was in Melbourne. I got invited to have a dinner with Tim Ferriss, all of the 4 Hour Work Week and the Tim Ferriss podcast. And we were having a couple of glasses of wine, having a bit of a dinner. And we're talking about the 4 Hour Work Week, and I said, I'll work less than 4 hours. And he sort of got me straight and said, you got it all wrong. You do 4 hours of what you don't want to do, but you still need to find your passion and work hard and get up early and do something full on. That was the moment that sort of got into my head going, okay, I need to find my purpose.
Okay. And how long would that take you? What was your process around that?
Shortly after, I thought, okay, what do I love doing? I love helping people. Maybe I can do NLP, because I was a qualified trainer of NLP. And I tested that and helped a few people out. And it was fun, but a lot of people weren't interested in NLP. Then I thought, I'm good at investing in property. I'll help people with that. And when I started talking about that, people were like, yes, please, I want this. And I thought, okay, this is more like it, because people want it. I don't have to beg them to do, property. We're NLP. People are like, what's NLP and why should I do it and why should I improve my life? But with property, people are like, George, I'm in. So it was a perfect fit. It was great. And also, I love talking about it. I love talking about property and doing NLP and things like that helps with anything, with mindset anyway. So then I started coaching people and slowly built my business. And before you know it, we're all around Australia. We're massive. We've got 5 to 10 new members joining every week, and we're really kicking goals. It's very exciting.
Yeah. And how long ago was this that you launched this property coaching business?
Yeah, so I launched the property coaching business 10 years ago. And, I was helping people before that, trying to get some runs on the board, because I thought, you know what, I really want to get some success stories and really show I can do what I can do before then. And then what happened was it just started growing and snowballing, and now it's become quite large.
Yeah. Okay. So what gave you the idea to organize a coaching business? Because you come from real estate. Tim Ferriss says you got to find, your purpose, your mission, and you want to help people. But I've been in a lot of coaching programs, and we're both in the same one. And I noticed the belts behind you that look very familiar. Did you join a mastermind in somebody else's coaching program, and then you kind of reverse engineered how to do it for yourself? Or did you really just make it up on your own?
I made it up on my own. And just slowly, started, coaching one-to-one, and then getting bigger groups and stuff like that. And then found Taki Moore Black Belt, and that sort of helped me fine tune and finesse my skills, because I think no matter what you want to do, whether it's property investing, running a coaching business, fitness, you need to find someone that's better than you and then model what they do. I'm not a type of person that wants to, be a pioneer and work out everything myself. I love learning from, standing on shoulders of giants and learning from people that are better than me. And that's what I do.
Now, one of the reasons I reached out to you in the first place and invited you to the podcast is because you are a prolific producer of content. And I'm going to guess it wasn't always the case. Do you remember when you first started like shooting videos of yourself and putting it out on social media? How long ago was that?
Yeah. So look, I started shooting videos probably about 8 or 9 years ago when I started the business. And I remember my wife, we set up a little studio upstairs. I got my wife to record me and I was trying to, do the camera and she's like, don't do this and don't do that. And your hands. And it was like frustrating. And I was getting upset with her, but it wasn't her fault. It was just because I wasn't comfortable. You know what I mean? And then we saw the final thing. We had to edit it. And my poor wife spent like 4 hours editing it because I'd made so many mistakes. We put it together. We looked at it and thought, it's all right. It's all right, but it's not fantastic. And then we just kept doing it. So what happened was, I kept doing it. We just week in, week out, kept recording videos and just started becoming super comfortable. Because I think, there's not enough authenticity these days. And I think being authentic is so important. And the only way to become authentic is by being really comfortable being yourself. Because if you're not yourself, if you go on camera and pretend to be someone else, and that's an unconscious thing that happens to people, then people don't get that connection. So I find now I can be myself completely and utterly, and that makes it so easy.
We're talking about imposter syndrome, and you're talking about your experience as a door-to-door salesman, and you built up a lot of confidence in you, right? And when you first started making that content, where was it going to? Were you posting it to YouTube or was there something else?
Okay, so when I first started posting content, what happened was Facebook Live videos were taking off. So I actually was doing Facebook Live videos because I first started doing YouTube, but as soon as Facebook Live, the algorithm was rewarding you for that, I started doing Facebook Lives. And doing it live, is scary, but what happens is it helps you be more authentic and does build your skills quicker.
It does, like 100%.
And yes, I just kept doing it because Facebook was rewarding it. Well, just like now, the algorithm rewards short form video and TikTok. So whatever the algorithm's rewarding, I'm jumping on that bandwagon because that's important, because you don't want to work against the grain, you want to work with it.
Got it. So like as far as this coming into creating new customers for you, what did that like in the very beginning? You're going live on Facebook. Were you following up on all the comments, or were people already like directly, sending you messages saying, how can I work with you? What was that connection between actually making content and more money coming into your business for you?
Yeah. So look, at first I didn't know what I was doing. So, we're having comments, but I didn't know how to convert the comments or the messages. So unless people directly reached out and said, hey, I want to use you, I was like, went over my head and I didn't do anything, right? So, but what I found was by producing more content and showing people what we do and how we do it, then it gave people a comfort level. And I found an interesting correlation. The more content someone watched, the bigger the percentage of them joining our program. So that was a very interesting thing that happened.
Okay. And your first version of your program, the price may have changed by now, but what did it cost people? What was the investment for people to begin working with you?
Yeah. Okay. This is interesting because our investment when we first started, I was charging $1,000 to help people invest in property, one-on-one coaching with me.
And that's like for a 3-month span or something like that?
Nah, for a whole year. So I was getting paid nothing.
Okay. Yep. It's okay to start low because if that will help you give you momentum, right?
Well, I started low.
And that's Australian dollars?
Yep, that's right. Australian dollars. So I started low and started hitting success really soon with people, which was great. I got some quick wins. So then what I did is then I put it up to 3,000, and then every month I'd probably do a price increase. I kept going because what happened was the way I did it is once we ended up with too many clients coming in, I put the price up to slow the flow down. So it's a really good balancing act. It's a lot of fun too when you put your price up and just get the right amount of clients that you can handle.
It is. And it's been going on for 10 years. So I'd imagine that currently it's gone up consistently. And you said you're getting, like multiple 4 or 5 clients every week. So that's wonderful.
Yeah. So I mean, one of our programs, I charge $100,000 for 1 year with me. So, you can see from $1,000 to $100,000. What a change. 100 times higher. Right. And because of all the content, the success stories, people, the right profile, they're willing to pay for it.
Yeah, there was you've probably heard of Alex Hormozi. He's actually in the same community as us.
Yeah, Alex Hormozi, he's awesome. He's a legend.
And one of the things he was saying is, because he has the hundreds of testimonials when he was doing his gym business, and I can't remember the price he was charging exactly, but maybe let's just say $2,000, right? And then someone came back and they said, hey, I want to buy. And then he says, yeah, it's $6,000 now. And he says, okay, what's changed to make it $6,000? And he goes, nothing, but $2,000 was the price for 100 testimonials. Now I've got, 500 testimonials. So the price has tripled.
Exactly.
And there's this direct correlation between how much you could charge and how much social proof you have. And the guy actually ended up buying because it's just, there's more confidence that you'll actually reach the goal that you set out to do. Could you give me a quick overview or kind of landscape of what social media platforms you're regularly on, you're posting on, let's just say at least once a week?
Yep, certainly. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
Okay. Podcasts or emails at all?
Emails and podcasts.
So that's like 7 places every single week, right?
7 places every single week. Yep.
And how much time is it you're investing in this on a monthly basis?
I'm investing 2 hours a week.
2 hours a week. So that's like 8 hours a month, roughly 8 or 9.
Yep.
So that's really reasonable.
I thought it was.
Yeah, and I thought it was, it's a good ROI.
Yeah, so what I do, I've hired a full-time videographer. And what happens is on Thursdays, I do a live. So what I do on Thursdays is my content day. So at 3:30, he comes in for an hour and we shoot all the short form videos, and then he can go back and edit that. Then at 6:05, I do a live in our free Facebook group for 25 minutes. And then I do 1 hour with all our paid clients and help them with any challenges they've got. And that's what I do Thursdays. Thursday is content day. And you know what? Funny enough, I used to dread Thursday and be coming up and going, oh no, I've got all these people I've got to talk to and everything else. And the funny thing is now it's my favorite time of the week. I really love connecting with our community and, sharing knowledge and stuff like that.
And what shifted that make you like it?
What shifted is doing it more often and getting good at it and getting the feedback. You know what I mean? When you do a good job, when you've done a good job and you know it's good and people appreciate it and people value it, it's a good feeling. It's great. But when you're first starting out, people aren't appreciating it, people aren't valuing it. It's not because the content's not good. You just haven't hit the right market, or you haven't done it enough times to get enough of a following where you get, super fans that come along all the time.
Makes sense. Now you're like on all these platforms, 7 different platforms, every single week, minimum once a week. And which one are you seeing the most, let's say, like return on investment of time and effort?
So look, I would say TikTok has been a big game changer for us. And TikTok's really with our content, TikTok has shaped my content over the last month, which has changed and improved my content. So I was doing a lot more long form. I decided to try out TikTok, have a bit of a laugh. And our first video hit 1.2 million views, which is pretty cool. Then I got addicted. I thought, I love this. This is great. Let's do more. And we haven't quite got there yet, but we've still got others with hundreds of thousands of views. But what's happened is by getting good at TikTok and pushing that into Facebook, now I'm finding I've got reels that are doing 500,000 and 50,000 as well. And there was no way I would have got that on Facebook if I didn't learn what I was learned from TikTok, funny enough.
That's cool. Now, a lot of people, and I have clients myself who I produce their content for. And one thing I hear a lot from them is like, hey, isn't TikTok just like for teenagers? And my product, and like for you, I'm guessing like your average demographic for people who buy into, learning from you about real estate, that's going to be like late 30s, 40s, a lot of 50s. Am I right? I'm just guessing here.
No, it goes from 20 years old to 55. Well, the funny thing is, I was in LA recently, and I caught up for dinner with actually a Facebook friend that I haven't met in person, her and her sister, and
So there's like a how-to type of community there, right? I've seen so many of these TikTok videos, like how to clean your house, how to get grout out, how to screw in a screw, like how to change a tire. But it's random. I don't search for it. It just comes up on my feed and it looks interesting, so I watch it.
I think a lot of people are searching for it, and I find that way you can get a quick 2 minute video, and you don't muck around because with YouTube, it's a lot of people open up and they're like talking, and you want to get to the part where you want to learn what you want to learn. You don't want to spend half an hour listening to BS. So I find TikTok cuts through all that and gives you the value that you want. So I feel that one, as a platform, it's a great platform because people are getting value, and it's a really big connection between the video and the customer.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you decided like TikTok is my jam, I'm going to be doing more of this. Did you how did you come up with the topics? Where did you come up with that from the first day you decided I'm going to shoot a whole batch of video?
So basically, I come up from topics because I've got quite a large community online. I get a lot of questions. So what I do is what people want to know, the questions people are always asking. And I talk to my sales team and said, what are people asking? What do they need to know? And from that, I could get my topics out. And we're experimenting because obviously you need to get a hook when it comes to TikTok. And it's interesting what happens, why a video is viral, why it's not viral, because, sometimes I'll get a video and there's 100,000 views. I'm thinking, okay, I know why. Because I find normally if you're really authentic, but also if you're not politically correct, if you're polarizing and have got, put your mark in the sand and say, this is what I stand for, and I'm not going to pussyfoot around, I find that people resonate to that. And that's me. I mean, I'm not politically correct. I'm say it the way it is. I don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. That's me. I mean, I'm not politically correct. I'm the sad the way, like at least you got your rainbow flag in the back there. I'm going to call it a rainbow flag for now.
It looks like a rainbow flag, isn't it? Exactly. Which is great.
Yeah, now we're talking political correctness. Now I see a rainbow flag. Not karate belts.
There you go. So I'm supporting everyone at the same time. I'm supporting karate experts and the LGBT community, which I love, which is awesome.
There you go. Now let's talk about the videos that did the absolute best. What are those topics and why do you think they took off?
Oh, okay. So I did a video because I remember I did the video. I did it upstairs here, funny enough. And what I did is I for some reason I was talking like this, and that's the first image. And I found having you sitting here like this in your first image is not as good. So what I'm finding is if I'm like this or anything at the first screen.
Hand gestures like gang symbols or something, right?
Yeah, hand gestures work really well for me. And so I had this hand gesture and I said, I'm going to teach you how to cut your mortgage in half. And I said, if you want to cut your mortgage in half, keep listening. And that worked so well.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. In different cultures, it means different things. Like in Japan, it means good. But if you turn your hand around like this, then it means something else. It means money. And in the US, I remember I was in San Diego a couple years ago, and these guys, some homeless people, I was sitting at a restaurant with a friend, and they decided they want to insult me and my friend, and they did the symbol like this, right? Like over their crotch. I don't even know what that means, but it was very, very insulting for some reason. Like maybe they're calling me a wanker or something. I don't know. But if on accident you did that offensive symbol and it went viral, like Crocodile Dundee in New York, right? With the finger. Remember that?
I know. I love it. Yeah. So look, that's fascinating because I know in Europe, this is not a good sign either. It's something rude.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Yes, it's a certain part of your anatomy.
Okay. I think I get what that means. And by the way, if you're listening to the podcast, you don't see what we're doing. We're just, putting our thumb and our index finger together in a circle. That's it, right? We're doing
the OK symbol.
The OK symbol, right?
But you know what? I love the money symbol in Japan. What you taught me, I think I could.
It's down because it looks like a coin in the palm of your hand, right? And that's what it's supposed to look like.
I love that. There's my next topic.
There you go. You can start like this. In Japan, this means money, and
yeah, I can start like that, and I can say,
"Oh, absolutely,
that's great. Thank you for that. I appreciate that."
Now, did you find that there's certain topics that every time you bring it up, they don't land? Like you're seeing some of the videos compared to your best, and they're just bombing, and there's some consistency in topics or anything at all?
Look, I find that with TikTok, I should open up my account and have a quick look to just give you. Is that okay if I'm looking?
Yeah, while you're doing that, I've recently, I don't know if you've been following my stuff online, but I've been auditing a lot of people's TikTok channels. And I did Alex Hormozy, Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, and people like that. And one of the things I'm finding that there's a huge difference in engagement if people are actually nailing the camera lens with their eyeballs, or if they're not. Even if it's just a tiny bit off, the engagement is crazy different. Really, people feel like you're looking into their eyes.
Wow, okay. Well, I better look into the camera.
Yeah, it's like a lot of people will have their phone and they're looking at the screen on their phone, right? And not the actual camera. And that will make a difference in the engagement.
Okay.
Another thing I found is length doesn't matter. It really doesn't. The only thing that does matters is like the amount of time that you could keep their attention for is exactly how long your video should be. Some people can do it for 2 minutes, some people for 10 seconds.
Okay.
And like I've seen viral videos that are like 2 minutes long and some that are 10 seconds long. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter how long it is.
Yeah, I prefer longer form because then I can give you more value, you know what I mean? I find that, I like a little bit longer. But with what works and what doesn't work on my TikTok, I'm just having a look now because I've tried some controversial stuff, right? That hasn't landed. Because what I've been doing is I've been looking at Alex Hormozy's channel, and he did a video why I married my wife for business.
So yeah, that was actually his number one best in the last 60 posts. Actually,
there you go. So I did a video why I married my wife for money.
How did that do?
Well, it didn't go as well as Hormozy. Did okay, but it wasn't one of my viral videos. Didn't go viral. The thing is, though, I must say, because I was being very authentic in there and explained how, a lot of women that I dated before my wife, I'd go to lunch or coffee of a to-do list and they'd be going, why are you doing that? And get upset with me, where Christina supported me. And I think it's very important. And a lot of people resonated, though, and the message worked really well. But the headline just didn't get the virality for some reason. So maybe it's just the tweaking there. But and maybe what works for one person doesn't work for another. That worked for Hormozy because he's bigger than me. Maybe it didn't work for me.
Well, I was actually studying that exact video. I watched it over and over, and it started with a person asking him a question in an interview, and it says, so when you met your wife, you didn't do it for love, right? That was like a super controversial question to set him up. And then Alex comes back, absolutely. And that was controversial the way it wasn't Alex that says it was somebody else that asked him, and it was an interview between two people. So obviously there's no looking right at the camera. But the one thing I found that makes a difference is where Alex is looking a little bit off camera. It's just him the whole time. Then the views are very low. But if you show him and the person he's talking to now, the viewer has some context. Why is he not looking at me? Because he's talking to this other person. That is really important. When you're off camera, like let's say you're on stage and you're reaching your audience, you got to show them some of the audience too and cut back and forth. Otherwise, you should just tell your videographer, the performance is going to be a huge difference. But, look at the camera whenever you can.
Ken, what a great insight.
Look, I'll send you the data. Remind me of that, and I'll send you the audits that I did.
I'd love that. That's a great insight, Ken. That's brilliant. And, that's what I love about you.
It's data driven. I think a lot of people can talk out of their asses. Like I think that passion is super important, whatever. I'm Japanese, so I take a different approach. I study like all the data and then just look for patterns, and I'm not going to tell you what to do or what not to do. I'll just report what the numbers say is working and not working. And what's actually inspired me to start this podcast and start creating a short form content, because I realized, okay, I think that I kind of understand the patterns here, and there's over a period of time, I think that I can probably start building things up in other platforms as well. Do you remember a time that you did something on social media and you immediately regretted it? Like take a quick, take down that post quick, and yeah, like a big mistake. Did that ever happen to you?
Yes, absolutely. So what happened was there was a billboard in Sydney with a plus size model about something. And I just, and everyone's saying, how brave she is, how awesome she is, and blah, 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 blah. And I posted it on my Facebook and said, look, yes, going out and being on a billboard is brave, but we don't want to use the word brave too liberally, because then, people that are dying for their country.
You're choosing your words very carefully right now that you're revisiting this topic.
Yeah, exactly. I have to. People that are, fighting cancer and winning that and that stuff, like it's a different thing. But also I said, we're celebrating this, and I think that I accept people in all shapes and sizes, whether they're men or women, but is being overweight healthy? That was the bottom question I asked. And people were not happy with that question. And people were very upset and triggered by it. And then they were saying, well, those skinny models are even worse and blah, blah, blah. And I said, I didn't say skinny models are healthy. I just said being overweight obesity is a known factor for mortality. And we should put that in context.
There's a lot of facts. People just get upset about confronting, it, right? Some of them could argue that it's like obesity is bad, but it's just some things. People they just want to defend their pet beliefs, their pet, biases. And I think we all have them. I probably have a few that my wife could talk about and expose me for.
Yep. So coming into this topic, recently Kim Kardashian talked about a diet she went on and how she went down to 18% body fat. And there was all these articles saying, Kim, you're so irresponsible. How dare you talk about dieting and having 18%? It's unrealistic. And I'm the exact opposite. I think well done for having the discipline to cut down your body fat and do something healthy. And it's not a bad thing. Why are we shunning people doing something healthy? That's just ridiculous. We should be, what's harder to do? Sitting on a couch and just eating, or actually working out and losing weight? There's a big difference there. And, if you want to sit on the couch and eat, that's fine. But I'm saying I don't know if we should celebrate it as being brave or strong, but I think, having discipline and having a diet is hard work. It's not easy, but it's not bad. If once we consider, having a good example to people is bad, where do we stop? Is earning money bad? Is helping the poor bad? Is what's considered good?
Yeah, all that makes so much sense. And
so probably now you're going to say, do you regret anything? And I'm saying, yeah, this whole thing that I did on your podcast went crazy. They're like, God, you're such a bad person.
No. All I was going to say is I think there's two things that happen, right? When you come out like that, I think there's going to be a lot of people who agree with you, but are just too afraid to vocalize it on social media, and they're going to come even closer to you. And then there's people who, if they become your clients at some point, you're going to have friction in the future anyway, and they're going to drive further away from you, right? So you kind of dodge the bullet in some cases, but if you're not being ignored, then that's progress. A lot of people, the biggest problem is that they're being ignored. They put out a post and it's crickets, and they go an hour later and they like their own post, and then crickets, and they go out and share their own post, and you got the one like, the one share, and that's the person who posted it. But when you get engagement, you understand how to orchestrate the audience, and orchestrating an audience is an art. It's the most rewarded monetarily these days than anything else, because before it used to be, if you're a pro boxer, it's the highest paid sport because it's just two people, and every single person that's watching it, who's paying to watch, you don't have to split it. It's just you and the other person. And you don't have to share it with a whole team and a bunch of managers and coaches. It's just two people. And they're orchestrating the audience. When they're on social media, the bigger your audience and the bigger the movement you can orchestrate, the more you're going to earn. I'm seeing this correlation over and over again.
Is that a bit like what Gary Vee says, where attention equals money? Is that similar?
Yeah, absolutely. I take it a step further than that. I think the currency of social media, the way I see it, and it's very tangible. When I buy ads, I'm paying either $10,000 or $20,000 every month, sometimes more on ads, and I'm literally buying people's time. There's a 3-second pre-roll, and they hit skip, and people are like, this is money that I pay that translates to time for my audience, and it's like a drug deal, right? People pay money and they expect a dopamine hit, just like your video has to make them feel happy or react in some way. And if that chemical reaction doesn't happen as a result of paying the currency, they won't come back. And if that transaction is successful, then they'll keep paying the money. They'll be addicted. Money equals time, and social media, the platforms, they're farms, and they harvest people's time and then sell it to advertisers. So it actually works out really well. And you're stealing people's time if you make crappy quality content, and then you try to bait and switch them with a catchy title or something. And those that are the kind of people, businesses that people don't want to do business with. But when people realize every piece of content you're taking people's people's money just by posting it and people viewing it, then people will think more responsibly, hopefully, about how to satisfy their viewers or their customers, and then and their customers' expectations when they come to you. Then people will think more responsibly about how to satisfy their viewers or their customers' expectations when they come to you.
That was very deep, and I agree. I think, but we, us as creators, we owe it to our audience to do excellent work. You know what I mean? And give value, I think. You know what I mean? Because I think when you think about, if you've got a big following, and I've got a massive following, whatever I produce, I'll be wasting a lot of time if it doesn't give value.
100%. Absolutely. I want to respect your time. Speaking of time, we've got just a few minutes left. If somebody has a business, let's say coaching business, because you're in the coaching business, and they haven't really gained traction in their social media, what would you say to that person? Like, what are some steps they can do to, besides just pulling out a camera and, JFDI, what are some like strategic direction they could take in getting started to build their following?
Yeah. Okay. So what I would do is I'd find a mentor. So the way I see things, at the end of the day, if you're not good at something and you want to get good at it, find someone that's good at it. Someone's got runs on the board. Don't just go to someone going, oh, yeah, I can help you, but they got that, not doing it themselves. So I like to find people that are good at what they do themselves and then pay them to help me, because it's going to save you a lot of time and money by paying for it. A lot of people try to do it themselves. I think paying someone to help you is important.
I got one last question, and how I said you hired a professional videographer to help you with your videos. At what point do you think a business should, instead of shooting and editing all their own stuff, actually hire a professional? And whether it's somebody who comes in person like you do, or hiring an agency, when does it make sense to do that?
Yeah, I guess when it makes sense is, one, it's about the ROI. And you got to, what I like to do is, I think what's the most important thing as a business owner, more important than anything in the world, or anyone, not even just a business owner, is you got to find out what are you worth per hour. Number one. And, you got to work out what you're worth per hour. And then video editing and video shooting, you work out how much you have to pay for that and your hour and time, and how much does it make sense to pay someone else? And so for me, it makes a lot more sense for me to pay an outside team and other people to do it for me than me do it myself. But when I first started, as you heard, me and my wife were doing the editing, and it took forever. And now I've got a professional, and I just record it. It's nice and easy. I spend an hour, a couple of hours a week, and that's it. But before that, it took us literally hours and hours and hours, and the quality was not nearly as good.
Got it. And as soon as what your time is worth, if somebody is to do it lower than your hourly rate, then that would be like when you should shift and offload those duties. It's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. But also, so then you can shift on to other things in your business, because, producing stuff as a business owner, as a visionary, that shouldn't be your main focus.
Okay, I love it. Thanks so much for that. George, I'm going to end this by asking you to just let us know if there's somebody who listened to this and they want to find out more about your property coaching services and your business. Where's the best place to find that information?
Yep, go to georgemarkoski.com and you can find out more about it there.
Okay, if you're watching this on YouTube, go check down in the description, find the links. And if you're listening to the podcast, check out the show notes. Make sure you go and check out George. And I do recommend, on a personal level, I've been in touch with George for some time, had a few conversations where we're in some of the same masterminds where there's some really only high integrity people allowed. So that's why I have so much trust in someone like him. So check out the links, get in touch with him, find out more. Look him up on TikTok, because that's where he's growing really well. George, thank you so much for spending this time with us. Is there any last words of advice you'd like to give somebody who's trying to, at all about your business, about life, about creation?
No, that's about it. The one thing, I suppose, content creation, life, be the best version of yourself when you're creating content, when you're in your life or anywhere, because you don't want to be a second-rate version of someone else.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, George. I appreciate it.
Ken, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
And thank you, everybody, for listening all the way to the end, and I'll see you in the next episode.